series so far. So today we'll be covering about the very important concept in OOPS, especially in Python, that is regarding the encapsulation, data encapsulation, and it's especially called as data hiding. So uh, that is data hiding. Data hiding. Now, if you have a previous programming background again in Java or C++, there you might have learned about the different access specifiers. Access specifiers are like how a class should be visible to an external class or to the user. So we basically used keywords there like private, public, then we had some friend functions, protected, things like that. So they had their different protocols of being accessed and how the data was being accessed to some other systems or for intermediate operations. So that was the story of the other programming languages. But in Python, we don't have any such of this format or access specifiers for a class. Instead, we have a concept that is data hiding. So I'll give you an example, a best example for data hiding. So now this is one of the most important concepts in OOPS. So whenever in any programming language, whether like you develop an application or for any implementation purpose, you need to have data security. So the data which is very crucial or confidential should not be visible to any outsiders or intruders, especially hackers. So if that is the case, then your system may get compromised. So that should not happen. And also the different teams who are involving in this data handling process, they should not manipulate the data or manipulate the code, else at the end systems it may give different results. So we'll basically understand this. So consider we are having a gene expression data. So this is in a biotechnological laboratory, and we are developing vaccine for some particular disease. So then we ran the all the experimental results, and based on that experimental results that we currently see here, that is this portion. So we get some gene sequence code. So we have this ATGC strands of data, that is sequences. And now this is like after many trial and errors, we got this particular results. Now important thing is like we should not change. So whatever we get, we have to save it, and later it gave out different statistics. So first statistics what it gave is the count of the different uh, strands, or how many different DNA sequences are there inside this. So that is basically given by this hash symbol. So that basically gives the count of different ATGC symbols or the length of that particular DNA strand. And then the analysis was based on the chromosome count. So based upon this experimental result, we get what is the correct matching of the chromosome pair in the DNA or in the RNA. And then we did some mutations over this particular uh, cell, and then we got a mutated gene. So then we that released later into a group of some population, and we identified which types of people are more prone to this test, or if there is a gene change in this particular species, who are the most affected, who are the moderate affected, and who are safe. So we get these many stats from this experimental analysis for gene expression data. Now, this particular experiment was not carried under one particular person, but with the collaboration of different teams involved into that. So first we have a researcher, that is this guy, So he is a researcher or a scientist. Then there is a development team who is sitting, so they are basically doing the coding and all those stuffs. Then there is a doctor, a PhD candidate, someone who is expert in this genetic algorithms. Then there is a tester who is testing these things, like which is compatible, which is not compatible, and running different test cases, whether uh, it or are there any loopholes in between this while developing these algorithms or this experimentation, or whether is it hazardous to any other species, and so on. And then there is a person who is half robot and half human, so they give this kind of biased ideas on these things. And then there is a storyteller who says like this is how we are going to do, and he'll conduct basic visualizations and present it so that it becomes a convincing story for the vaccine for that particular disease. Now, what happens is, as you can see, this particular coder is looking at this data. So he is very much into this, like how we can give better performance for this. Now it is just running over just on two test cases, which is moderate. But then later, what he does is, now just remember this particular experimental analysis is not having a backup, but it is just being centralized. So every user will have the access to the data regardless what they do. So now what this particular coder will do, or the development person will do, is he'll do some modifications in this code. Now by that modifications, what happens is there are some additional strands which is generated or which is replaced in these portions, as you currently see, that is in this colors. So in some places where it was all blue, now there are some more colors added. So now what is the consequence of this? So what experimental results we got, this one, that is this count, this will basically fail. Even the chromosome stuff, this will fail. The mutation thing that we did, that is a complete toss again, and the population will get adversely affected, and there may be a huge number of people who may be affecting with this. So that is a great pandemic that is going to happen. So but we need to control this. Now we later identify in the process, like someone in the development team did this, and later we identify that this person was a hacker. So that is very dangerous to our system. So now what we do? So this is one scenario that is possible, but in the real world there are very tight security to the systems, whoever is accessing to this. So but this is just a common example of data hiding which I gave. But in a broader way of speaking, we need to devise some mechanism so that some or all of these data parts, which are called as extracts, 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 should be visible to only particular user at some particular time. So there should be some time given where we can review these results or we can access these results, and it should be in extracts, not a complete or not the entire code or entire experimental result should be given. But instead there should be uh, some sliced portion where you can access the data, just few records you can access it. So there should be some kind of barrier, or there should be some kind of protection wall, or we call this as a firewall somewhere here, which will safeguard from being accessed by uh, hackers or some other intruders. So that is very essential. So who sees this data, that is most important. Even the stakeholders, they should be given different rights in order to access this. So this is the basic data hiding. So just model is that if your data is not secured and if you are making it public to everyone who sees it, there may be some evil intentions in manipulating the data. So that may result in large loss in humanity or in cost. So that is very dangerous to the society. So it may set back you uh, your work, or it may set back you in cost, money. So you basically know what is currently happening in the world. So this kind of situation should not happen. So this is just a use case that I gave in order to kickstart our discussion for data hiding. So how do we do this in Python, or how does Python handle this without giving this access specifiers, private, public, protected, friendly functions, and all these things are not there. So how it basically does. So we jump into the program. So first, there are two parts for explaining this. So first I'll explain a demo program, and then we'll just increase the difficulty level of this problem, that is for data hiding. Okay, so let's begin. So I need to do some annotations. So I'll just save this. Just don't worry, I'll just put the link in the GitHub. You just make sure to check from there. Okay, so we are now good to go. I'll just minimize this. Okay. So first what I'm doing is, so we have seen how we can define class and what are the init methods and how we put the instance variables and what are the static member variables. So that is a prerequisite before watching this video. So if you haven't watched that video, I suggest you to check that video first. That is instance and static member variables. Then only you will understand what is happening in this particular video. Okay, so let's begin. So first, as I mentioned, I'll run two programs. So first is a basic understanding of the variables and the classes. So what I have is, first I'll define a class. So name of my class is demo. And then inside the class, I'll initiate the class or initialize the class. So that's why I define the init method. It by default has a self parameter, and then it takes one more argument, that is a variable v. Now inside self I have one variable. So just remember, we have this convention. So in the conventions video way back when we started the Python series, uh, we know like we can define a variable, that is normal variable is defined as a. So this is how we define variables in any codes we have seen so far. But there is another way of defining a variable, like we can define this way, that is by preceding with an underscore, that is a prefix. This is also permitted. So that is what I have written here. So that is self dot underscore tu. So this is just another variable, normal variable. So if you are just confused with this, I'll write it as a, and just don't look at this. And then what I do is, I'm outside the class, I'm just instantiating the object of this class, and it expects one positional argument, that is one argument. That's why I'm passing any variable, that is 10, and then I'm printing that object. So object dot I have now tu. So that will basically print this value v, which goes here, that is 10. So whenever this particular object of this class is created, it will go to this class. So for printing this, it will take this value 10 along with this, and it will print in place of this. You'll get the output as 10. So if that is the case, we'll just run this and we can see. Okay, so object has no attribute tu. Okay. mm, we have to rename this. That's my mistake. Okay. Yeah, we are getting value 10, so that's perfect. Just with the naming convention, it was changed. Now instead of this a, what I do is, I just write it as tu, and here also I'll write it as tu. So that is just another variable. So if I just run this again, we'll get the same output. So that is just the same thing. You write with just a variable, or if you just proceed with underscore, that remains the same. It is as simple as that. Okay, now how we can make a variable hidden? So that is what the second line in this init function says. So if you see the length of this underscore and the length of this underscore, these two are different. because this is uh, underscore printed two times. So whenever before a variable, if you type two underscores consequently one after the other, that means this particular variable is hidden like this. So we are expecting like uh, this will also print the same value. So now in the first line what we currently saw there, the 10 goes and it will print 10. Now this particular variable is hidden and we want to again print this. So in the first place whether this will run, we'll just check that. I first close this shell and just run again. The first variable we just printed, that was public. Basically I can say this is a public variable, so it took 10 and it printed 10 onto the screen. But for second variable, because it is hidden, it could not print that, and you can read the error. That is we saw how we read a trace back from bottom to top, that is attribute error. And demo object has no attribute underscore underscore tum. So everything is considered as object, the variable, class. So that's why it's called as demo object and not demo class. So demo is an object and it says like it has no variable tum or tum. But however it is there, we are not commenting anything. Why? Because it is basically hidden and it is preceded with two underscore variables. Now if I want to make it run in this way, now it is not hidden, or wait, in this way it is printing 1010 because both are publicly accessible, it is visible. But here when I make it hidden, so in order to make it hidden you have to write two underscore. It is as simple as that. So if I again just try to run, it will print the first 10, then it will throw an attribute error. So but I need to print this variable. So in Windows also, if you want to see any files which are hidden, you have the option to show the hidden files. So in Python, if the variable is hidden and if the developer or who made this want to see that variable, there should be some method by which we can print the hidden variable. Yes, it is possible, and I have written we can print hidden variables. Obviously there should be some method to print that. Yes, there is a method to print that. So how we can print that is by writing the fully qualified name fqn, that is by uh, writing the name of the class and after that the name of the object. So how do you write that? We write the same thing. So this is the way how we write it. So I basically want to print that particular hidden variable. So this does not work. So instead what I do is I need to have the object which is created from the class, that is obj, and dot, and after that what I need to do is I need to put an underscore, then name of the class, that is demo, and underscore underscore which variable you want to print, that is this one. So this syntax is basically fully qualified name. Till this part it is same. So obj dot, that is for accessing any variable, we know it basically from the past videos also. But this is the explicit thing that you want to mention, because demo is a class and from demo you want to print this hidden variable. So it's like I'll just draw here one small diagram. um, okay, so consider this as the class, that is a container. I'll not save this. Okay, so this is the class that we currently have. So name of the class that is have is demo. So demo is the name of the class, and we are having two variables, that is underscore tu and underscore underscore tum. Now what I'm doing is I want to access this variable from outside, so that's why I create an object which is representative of this class. I can directly access this and I get the value as 10. Now when I want to uh, access this variable which is hidden, it is not permitted by the compiler or the interpreter. So we mention like under this class I want to get this particular hidden variable. So that's why I write object dot underscore demo underscore underscore this variable name. That is hidden variable. So hidden variable always starts with underscore underscore, and then I'll basically get the value whatever I have. So if I just go ahead and just run this, you see I get 10 and 10. Now if I just change this value, that is the value here 20, what I get is I get 10 20. So basically 10 which I passed here, that get overridden, and what is the latest value, it will print that. So that is a small difference that you need to keep in mind. So this is how it basically works. So whenever in class, if there is a hidden variable, you need to access it by making an object which is a representative of that class. Then you need to mention the name of the class and which hidden variable. Now why this is important is because uh, if you have say another class like this, so if you have say another class and this class is a like this demo, okay, and inside this also you have tum. Now you create just one object and you want to access this class, or you want to access the variable tum, but the uh, object which you created, that is of this class, but how do you know which hidden variable you want to access? So just for that naming purpose, we have the convention like from which class I want to access that particular hidden variable. And if I want to access the hidden variable of this class, I obviously have to instantiate another object, that is obj1. Only then I can access this. So that is the main purpose of this concept of data hiding. So this is how we can print the hidden variables, but directly it is not printed. Now let us make the difficulty level even more complicated. So for that I have a different code. So I'll just comment this out and go down and just uncomment this. So this is in regards to what we are talking for our gene expression scenario. So for that again I have a class that is seq, which stands for sequence, and inside this what I have is I have a variable. So this is yet another variable. Just instead of writing x, I just put underscore x. So that is a variable. Now this variable is not inside the init method, initialized method. It is outside, so that makes it as a static member which is outside the class. Not outside the class, it's a static variable. It should not be outside the class because it's inside the class. Just it's a static member, okay. And then there is another static member, that is underscore underscore h, which is initialized to this value, but it is hidden. Till here it's fine. Now we initialize the class sequence class. So for that we have the init method. We pass self. It takes no other argument. We don't require that. We have just seen in the example. So while calling, we need not pass any argument. We can just call this sequence class as it is. Then inside this init method, what we have is we have an instance variable. So whatever is there inside the init method, that will be instance variable. We have learned that, that is instance member variable. But just look at this variable how it is written. So this is not underscore a, this is underscore underscore a. So this is not this variable, neither it is this variable, but this is this variable. So it becomes a private instance variable which is there inside your sequence class or in the initialized method. So just be careful after this. Now what I have is I have another method inside this sequence. Now that method is called as bar method. Okay, that is bar method, and inside that just look at this particular line. That is, I'm just printing this. So just before that I comment this out and I'll just run this. You got some output, right? That is underscore sequence underscore a and 100. Okay, so we'll just do the analysis how our program basically works and why did we get that error. Not error, in fact we got some output, but that's some vague. Just don't try to make summarizations out of that. We'll understand the code. Okay, so our program execution starts from here. So we create the object of the sequence class. So better we just make a diagram side by side. Okay, so I have a class like this, and name of my class is SEQ. Okay, so name of my class is SEQ. I'll just draw here. Okay, that is fine. So outside this class, uh, not outside, before the initialization happens, I have two variables, that is underscore x and underscore underscore h. So I have two variables. So that is underscore x, which is initialized to 949, and underscore underscore h, which is equal to 666. I'll just save this right away. Okay. Now inside this what we have is we have the initialization part. So we have this block where it does the initialization, where it calls the init method with self, right? Okay, so till here it's fine. Now inside the self method, I said we have a private instance variable. So inside this we have underscore underscore a, and it is initialized to 100. And also inside this class I have another block, that is another method. So for each method we draw a block here. So that is bar method, and inside that we are not doing any initializations or variable creation, just we have a set of print statements. For the time being we have only the initialization in this particular uh, init method. Now just pause the screen and or pause the video, in fact, and just try to analyze what could be the output of this particular statement, that is this print object and dictionary. We know it will just print out whatever available variables are created after it has instantiated this object. So just try that activity. So if you did that activity and if you got the answer what you currently see on the screen, and if you don't understand what it is there, don't worry, we'll just understand this thing one by one. Okay, so first and foremost is like it is private, but it is also hidden. But we have seen technique above, like we can print hidden variables, so that is not the issue. Just we are trying to understand how many variables have been created, but it just printed uh, something else. Like it printed this way, a dictionary containing some value and a value 100. So that's what it printed. Now, first question is why the bar method was not initialized, or why did this print statement, why didn't happen, or we basically had two print statements, right? This print statement and this print statement, and why this particular print statement didn't run. The basic explanation is like this print statement is under a particular method, that is bar method. So until and unless we take the permission from this bar method, we can't print any statements inside that, or we can't do any operations from inside that. So first and foremost is what we need to do is we need to uncomment this. That is, we create the object of, or we already have the object from the class, that is sequence class, and then we are trying to invoke that bar class. So now we are taking permission of this bar class, and whatever statements are there below the bar class, it will get printed. So now we just go again and just run this. Now just for the time being, I'll just comment this thing. So that is some a different talk we are going to have. I'll just run this and I get the value that is 666, which is hidden. So that is completely fine. Uh, but just look into this thing, the print statement. So obviously this is the print statement which printed 666 onto the screen or onto the shell. Now just look at this particular statement. Now here what I mentioned above, like we can print the hidden variable or whatever variable is hidden inside the class just by object dot demo or underscore the class name underscore variable name. Now here what we are doing is we are calling the class name dot the variable name. Now how does this happen? So just don't look that also. Just I'll comment this and I'll just print this instead. We get the same output here. So this thing what we currently or we saw before, the same thing I'm writing here. So with that we have no issues. Object dot, we are writing that is sequence, that is the name of the class, and whatever hidden variable is there inside that, we are just printing that. Okay. So but just remember we have two variables hidden, that is this one and also this one. So we are just only getting this value. As per our analysis, it is correct. Now there is one more technique of printing this hidden variable, that is the second print statement. Now the second print statement is in correspondence with the object that we created outside the class. So outside the class what we have is we created an object of the sequence class and we are accessing it. So it's like if I want to draw it, so in the bar class uh, what I do is I want to access this particular variable, that is this one. Okay. So what I'm doing is I'm directly saying like, or I'm directly printing like sequence dot hidden variable, that is the name of the variable. So inside the class I'm calling like I want this hidden variable. So that is absolutely perfect, right? So there should not be any issue that should be coming. So inside from the bar class I'm calling like I want to access this. That is as simple as that. So that should also print the same thing. So if I just run this again, we get 2666. First is the way the fully qualified name, how it works, and this is why, because we are directly calling that variable from the class itself. So now since all these print statements are inside the class, this is absolutely perfect. Now just look at this, and if I just run this again, we get 666 three times. It gets printed thrice. Now I just above spoken like this is not permitted, but here this didn't work, but here this worked. Now why does this happen? It is as simple, just a small explanation for that. Just because we are creating the variable, or we are just creating the representative of that class that is outside this, if you call with object dot hidden variable, or if you call with sequence dot hidden variable, both are one and the same. So the second print statement and the third print statement, that is this one and this one, both are the same. The first one is the thing, that is the fully qualified name. So moral of the story is like, if your print statements are there inside, you can directly call just by preceding the class name and the hidden variable, or you can print the object dot class dot hidden variable name, or if you are accessing the object from outside, you can do it in this way. So that is the basic thing how you can call this. So even if you don't do this, and if you want to access this, so just I'll just try this whether this works. So that basically didn't print anything because you didn't call the bar function. So that's why it printed nothing. So you don't get anything on the output. So basically you need to initialize this, and then you need to call that particular bar function. Okay, so here we understood like what is happening currently in data hiding. So I suggest you to follow only this particular technique whenever you are accessing the variable, because you may want to create objects outside the class and you want to print the variables in this way. So just stick on to this first technique, but it's good to know the second and third technique also. Just it is simple. If you are accessing the variable from inside the class, you can just say like from this class I want the variable. So this thing which you see on the left hand side, that is important, whether it's object or whether it's sequence. Those things are important. If you put both of these things, that is also absolutely perfect. If you write by any of the one technique, that is also perfect. But whenever if you access object from outside the class, so this print statement was outside the class, my class ended at this particular line or here. So if I want to access any object from outside the class, then strictly I have to follow the fully qualified name. Okay, so that was the story of this bar statement. Now what I come is, I want to print this particular dictionary, or when we ran this we get some particular output. So this particular thing is with respect to the statements that we saw, and but here what we are getting is, we are getting some other different dictionary that we are not expecting, but we want in some different way. Now why this happens? So I'll basically just comment this out, and I'll just run this again. Before that I'll close the shell, and I just run this again, and you see I get output like key is underscore seq underscore underscore a, and colon, then the value which is there 100. So it is printing the variable. Now this variable creation has happened internally, and that's why it is printing the created variables in the dictionary. Now what I do is I just do like this. Now this is no more a hidden variable, it is just a public variable. If I just print this, just look at these two, just compare these two print statements, and if I do this way, that is also same. So the first thing is the result of being a hidden variable, and these two things are public variable. So that's why whenever we have a hidden variable that is in this way, it will print in the same order how we have the fully qualified name. So we got the output like underscore sequence underscore underscore a. So that is the name of the class, and in that class I have this hidden variable that is underscore underscore a and its value. So that is the basic idea of data hiding, and I'll just run this all once again, and let's see what output we get. So uh, this, and I'll just run this. So we get 3 times 6, and this particular dictionary, uh, this is because it is private, and if it was public, just only the variable name what is there, and we get the output. So that was all regarding the data hiding in Python. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you found you got educated about this video, please do like, share, comment, and if you're new to this channel, please consider subscribing. Thank you very much for watching this video.